Yesterday, Sayadaw mentioned that with the right view of karma as our own property, only if this is present will the faith arise that when one does good, it will bring good results, and one does bad, it will bring bad results. And having this knowledge, sanda, zeal arises to avoid doing wrong. And this sanda increases. One develops this knowledge, this eagerness to avoid doing wrong and to perform good. And with one's sanda, one's desire, one gives up the happiness at hand, which is negligible, which is very little. And instead, one works to gain happiness that comes with a guarantee. So one has the courage, because of one's zeal, one's sanda, one has the courage to do this. And this courage is virya, the courage to give up the present happiness, to work for greater happiness. And having arrived at a meditation center such as this, one studies the correct method. So if one doesn't know the method, then one has to study it by either listening or discussing or reading. And then, knowing the method, one puts it into practice. Well, from the start, of course, one has effort because one has the courage already made the step of coming to the center. But one makes effort to note the arising object, and with that mindfulness, sati follows. The mind becomes collected with samadhi, and there's aiming, and also knowledge develops in stages. So this is the path that we must walk. So if we follow the path of karma, as Sayadaw mentioned yesterday, the path of deeds, it will result in human rebirth and deva rebirth. And if we follow the path of jhanas, the path of absorption, we'll reach the Brahma realms according to whatever jhana we practice. But the seeds of the kilesas aren't yet removed. So when the absorption loses its momentum, one will fall from that and one will encounter suffering. So in order to eradicate the kilesas, one has to follow the path of knowledge. When one develops knowledge, then one ceases to crave, and one ceases to cling to things because of developing knowledge. Therefore, the round of kilesas has been stopped. With the round of kilesas coming to an end, there can be no deeds. The round of deeds comes to an end. And if the round of deeds comes to an end, there can't be any results. So these three rounds come to an end through our practice to eradicate kilesas. This path of knowledge that we have to walk has two parts. There's two paths, two parts to the path. The Vipassana path, it's also called the Pubhappaga Magga, which means preliminary path, or the worldly path. That's the first part. And then the Arya path, which is the part that leads directly to Nibbana. One doesn't have to work specifically to develop the Arya path. If we follow the Pubhappaga Magga, the preliminary path, or the Vipassana path, at the end of the Vipassana knowledges, at the end of the development of Vipassana knowledge, the Arya path will arise naturally, and we will realize Nibbana and gain unrelinquishable happiness. Sayadaw will give an obvious example, going from standing to sitting down. Rising and falling is also obvious, but since it's been discussed a lot, he will start with this example. At the moment of sitting down, there's the intention to sit, which is mental, nama. And there's the sitting down, which is rupa or physical. And the body gets heavier and heavier, stiff, and it goes down gradually. So at the moment of sitting, this is what we can observe. The intention to sit, which is nama, and the sitting down, which is rupa. Mind and mentality and physicality. And that's all there is in the moment of sitting. So when we put our attention on the sitting, at the moment of sitting, and we see the mentality, we see there's just this, there's just sitting, there's just this mentality and this intention to sit. There's not a self, there's no jiva atta. And the physical part simply slowly gets heavy, stiff, and goes down. It's just physicality. There's no self in this physicality. So at the grossest level, in the moment of sitting, there's just these two. Nama, mentality, and rupa, physicality. And the intention to sit arises and passes away, one after another. And the sitting process also arises and passes away. And these two things are apparent. If we note at the moment of sitting, we come to know these true natures. In the moment of sitting, what sits is the body. Intention is mind, not self or soul. Woman or man, sitting's just body and mind. So if one wants to know mentality and physicality, one has to note at the moment of arising, at the moment of sitting down. How should one note? Sitting, sitting. That's how one should note. And Sayadaw said that practice is like the lessons we learn when we're young, when we don't know the alphabet yet. We learn the letters of the alphabet. And for English, that would be A, B, C, D. And then we learn how to spell out words by saying the letters. For example, C-A-T, cat. And we read aloud and spell things out. Okay. And we also do this when we give things names when we practice. We give something a name. And that's to get our minds connected with the object. So if what we need to do is to observe the mind and body as it arises, and then we'll distinguish mentality and physicality. One has to practice moving slowly. One has to move slowly and carefully and respectfully. Effort to observe the object and aiming must be present. Then sati, mindfulness, will follow. So we need to do this rather than just let our minds go everywhere. We need to work like this. So doing this, making effort and aiming the mind, first we establish these mental qualities and then we develop them. They become larger and they multiply. So this is what is meant by bhavana. Only if we make effort to observe the object will sati arise. And only if sati sticks to the object will samadhi and knowledge develop. So we need to do everything carefully, respectfully, and try to be as continuous as possible. When we develop knowledge, the obsessive kilesas, the pariyotana kilesas, are dispelled, and the bhavana mind arises. This is clean. And this is what we aim to do in the practice. So we aim to understand that in the moment of sitting, there's the intention to sit, which is nama, and the sitting down, which is rupa. And we need to know this, to come to know this. If we know when the object arises, then samadhi bhavana will arise. So at the moment of sitting, the first thing we come to know is the physicality. The body gets heavy and it goes down gradually. But as we continue to observe, we come to know the mind also. If we see one, the other one will become known because they occur in pairs. So sorry, Pia, you don't want to be there wrong. So what we do is we put our attention on the obvious object. The physicality is obvious and we put our mind there. But by observing the object that is obvious, we also come to know the other object that is less obvious, because these are occurring in conjunction with each other. And Sayadaw mentioned again, in the moment of sitting, what sits is the body. Intention is mind. Not self or soul, woman or man. Sitting's just body and mind. And this is the knowledge that we gain through our practice, and this is the present benefit that we gain. If we note according to the method, making effort to know the evident components of mentality and physicality in the moment of sitting down, one comes to see that this is mind, nama. This is rupa, physicality. So one sees what is evident. One sees these evident things. And then our view becomes clean. Now, probably we had the view of self before coming to the practice. But if we discern nama and rupa, observing them as they happen, our view becomes correct and we become free of this, the view of self. Sayadaw said, nama rupanang yatava dasanang deti visuddhi nama. Seeing clearly mind and body is clear vision. It's clear and clean. So what is it clean of? It's clean of the view of self. It's rid of the view of self. And in the same way that in the moment of sitting there's just mind and body, in the same way when we go from sitting to standing, or from standing to walking, or from walking to stopping, bending, stretching, opening and closing the eyes, in everything there's just nama and rupa, mentality and physicality, occurring in pairs. If one makes effort to aim and note these evident realities, one also comes to know subtler, much subtler objects as our practice gets strong. If we know with concentration, then we see how mentality and physicality are related in many ways by cause and effect. Due to the intention to sit down, which happens in a series, the sitting down happens. And sometimes the intention stops when we're in the middle of sitting. And in that case, the sitting down will also stop. If the intention to sit down stops, the sitting down will also stop right there. If there's no series of intentions to sit, no sitting will happen. So we see that due to the relevant cause, a relevant effect arises. Only due to the intention to sit does sitting down arise. It won't arise due to some other cause. So we need to try to see this, and only if we observe carefully at the moment of doing something will we be able to see. When we can see cause and effect, we come to understand that there's no creator. We see very clearly that there's no creator in this. When we sit down, there's just a series of sitting downs caused by a series of intentions. We see the correct cause, which is this series of intentions, and therefore we see the correct result, which is a series of sitting down. If we don't observe, we'll have doubt about this, we'll be wavering about this. But when we observe, we're clear of this wavering. So in order to develop this knowledge, we need to observe the arising object without thinking about it. And every time, we'll come to see that every time the intention to sit occurs, sitting occurs. There's no creator, and one comes to know this very clearly. This is a benefit that we get in the practice immediately. Rupa, physicality, does not know. If there's just physicality, then sitting down can't happen. The sitting down movement comes from the mind, comes due to the mind. And it's like a fan, which has, inside of it, it has magnets and coils, and it has a motor, and it has electric wires, and due to electricity flowing, the motor will move, and then the wings of the fan will rotate. If the electricity doesn't flow, there's no way the motor is going to move. The motor will not move. So the electricity enters the motor, and the motor will move, and depending on how fast the speed of the motor is, we have speeds on a fan usually, slow speed, medium, and fast, and due to the based on the control that based on the control of the flow of electricity, the motor will go either slow or medium or fast. And this motor in the fan, with its magnets and coil, it can't do anything on its own. It needs the electricity if it's going to move. And this is a way of explaining how the relationship of the body and the mind. The electricity which causes the motor of the fan to move is like the mind, which causes the body to move. Because of the intention, the body moves. And only if the intention is there will the body move. And like the fan having speeds, when the mind is moving slowly, the body will move slowly. When the mind is moving at a medium speed, the body will move at a medium speed. And if the mind is fast, the body will be moving fast. Physicality doesn't move without the mind moving it. And it's just like if we turn on the motor, the electricity flows and the motor moves. Same way, if the mind is there to generate movement, with the intention to sit, for example, then the body will move. At the moment of sitting down, for yogis who have good noting, then they know cause and effect. And they know in the moment of sitting, what sits is the body, the result. The intention, the mind, is cause. There's no creator. Sitting is just cause and effect. If one wants to come to see this, one needs to make effort at the moment of sitting down and aim. If the mind falls on the cause, if one's mind happens to notice the cause, you'll see the cause. And if one's mind follows on the effect, one will see the effect. So one has to make effort. And this effort can't be lax. We need to strike while the iron is hot. And the effort must be active and brisk. And we also have to have accurate aim. At this point in time, it's very important to be able to observe mentality and physicality at the moment of its arising and to observe cause and effect. These are evident. And when one observes at the moment, observes so as to see nama and rupa and to see how they're related by cause and effect, then one comes to know, oh, this is happening because of that. And one sees truly that there's no creator in this. One sees also that if the cause is not present, the result won't happen. So one becomes free of all doubt regarding this. And just as it is with sitting down, the same with going from sitting to standing and every single other activity that we do. So if one wants to know cause and effect, then one needs to make effort and aim the mind with the practice of satipatthana. And if we strike while the iron is hot with correct aim, sati will come face to face with the object. And when that happens, knowledge will develop, the mind will become concentrated and one will come to know. And this coming to know is bhavana knowledge. It's not theoretical. It's not theoretical knowledge, and it's not knowledge that a teacher tells you. It's knowledge that one really knows for oneself. If, at the time of sitting down, we see the true nature of nama, mentality, and rupa, physicality, and we come to see their cause and effect relationship, the true nature of cause and effect, one then comes to see that these arise and pass away. As soon as they arise, they pass away. And the old is being replaced by the new. There's one intention followed by the sitting down, and then they go away. And then there's a second intention and a second sitting down, and then it goes away. A third intention and sitting down. There's just one pair of intention and sitting down process, again and again, arising and passing away. And this is their manner. This is seeing the manner of phenomenon, akara. If one sees clearly the cause and effect relationship of mind and body, if one's effort and mindfulness and concentration are good, then one will come to see this. That only if this is the beginning of Vipassana knowledge, to see the arising and passing away nature of phenomenon. So only after seeing cause and effect does Vipassana knowledge arise. So one doesn't have to work specifically to make this Vipassana knowledge arise. One simply needs to continue to note using the method of Satipatthana, and one will come to see more and more detail. If one sees that phenomena is happening step by step, part by part, they're arising and passing away, arising and passing away. One comes to realize that this is not permanent. One comes to see it. The knowledge comes naturally. And if one can see in this way, then every time one sits down, one will see how the cause and effect, the one cause and its effect, another cause and its effect, are just coming again and again and again. And one overcomes the view of permanence through seeing this. One sees that this cause and its effect are just arising and passing away. As soon as it arises, it passes away, and it's replaced by another one. So one seeing this clearly, one overcomes the view that things are permanent. And Sayadaw says, note carefully and you'll see this. So tomorrow he will continue to talk about the impermanent, suffering, and selfless nature of phenomenon. That's all for tonight. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.